Who was John Wayne Gacy, the man who became known as the Killer Clown? Born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Gacy grew up with an abusive, alcoholic father who constantly belittled him. Despite his troubled childhood, he craved acceptance and respect. He joined community groups, built a successful business, and even dabbled in local politics. To many, he looked like the model citizen, especially when he dressed as Pogo the Clown, entertaining kids at parties and charity events. But behind the makeup was a predator. Gacy lured young men, often from the Chicago area, with promises of jobs or quick cash. Once inside his home, he would give them alcohol or drugs, then handcuff, assault, and ultimately strangle or suffocate them. He buried 26 bodies in the crawl space beneath his house, hiding the rest elsewhere. For years, his crimes went unnoticed because of his seemingly respectable public life. That changed in December 1978, when 15-year-old Robert Piest vanished after being seen with Gacy. A police investigation led to a search warrant and the horrifying discovery of human remains under his home. At his 1980 trial, Gacy admitted to the murders but pleaded insanity. The jury rejected his defense, finding him guilty of killing 33 young men and boys. Sentenced to death, he spent 14 years on death row, where he bizarrely painted clowns. On May 10, 1994, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection, ending the reign of one of America's most infamous serial killers. Who exactly was David Parker Ray? Born on November 6, 1939, in Belen, New Mexico, his early years were anything but normal. Raised by a strict grandfather who punished him harshly, and exposed to violent pornography by his father, Ray's childhood was steeped in trauma. These experiences allegedly fueled his disturbing sexual fantasies and growing sadistic urges. As an adult, Ray seemed ordinary. He worked as a mechanic for the New Mexico Parks Department and was known as a capable handyman. But behind this normal facade, he was building something horrifying, a soundproof trailer he called his toy box. Inside stood a gynecological chair, surgical tools, chains, whips, and countless torture devices. Ray didn't work alone. With help from accomplices, including his girlfriend Cindy Hendy, he lured victims into the trailer. Once inside, they were drugged, restrained, and subjected to brutal torture and sexual assault, sometimes for days. Ray recorded his crimes, often playing tapes to warn new victims of the torment awaiting them. His obsession was control, every act meticulously planned to avoid capture. Authorities believe Ray killed many victims, but no bodies were ever found, leaving the full scope of his crimes shrouded in mystery. His reign of terror ended in 1999 when Cynthia Vigil escaped his trailer and alerted police. The investigation uncovered the nightmarish contents of the toy box, leading to Ray's arrest. Convicted on multiple charges of kidnapping and torture, Ray was sentenced to 224 years in prison. In 2002, he died of a heart attack while incarcerated, taking with him the secrets of how many lives he truly destroyed. What makes someone appear like the perfect neighbor, yet secretly become one of America's most feared killers? Dennis Rader, later known as the BTK Killer, short for bind, torture, kill, was born in 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas. On the surface, his childhood seemed normal, but beneath that mask, he showed disturbing tendencies early on. An obsession with bondage and a cruel habit of killing small animals. These red flags went unnoticed as Rader grew into adulthood. Outwardly, he was the picture of an ordinary man, working as a security alarm installer, briefly serving as a police officer, and even becoming president of his local church. He had a wife, children, and a quiet suburban home. To the community, he seemed respectable. In reality, he was living a double life. From 1974 to 1991, Rader terrorized Wichita, Kansas. Over 17 years, he brutally murdered 10 people, men, women, and even children. His method was always the same: binding, torturing, and killing. What made his crimes especially horrifying was not only their cruelty but the meticulous planning behind them. He wasn't just killing. He was fulfilling sadistic fantasies rooted in power and control. Craving recognition, Rader taunted police and the media with letters and cryptic messages, feeding off the fear he created. For years, he managed to hide in plain sight, his anonymity only inflating his ego. But in 2005, his arrogance betrayed him. After sending a floppy disk to police, investigators traced it back to a church computer linked to him. He was arrested, confessed, and sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms without parole. The BTK case remains one of the most chilling in American history, proof of how terrifying it can be when a monster hides behind the mask of normalcy. What makes a trusted family doctor turn into one of
the most prolific killers in history? Harold Shipman, later known as Dr. Death, was born on January 14, 1946, in Nottingham, England. His early life seemed unremarkable, but his world changed when his mother died of cancer at just 17. Watching morphine ease her pain left a deep impression, one that may have influenced his dark future. As an adult, Shipman became a respected physician in Hyde, Greater Manchester. To the community, he was a caring doctor. In reality, between 1975 and 1998, he murdered an estimated 250 patients, most of them elderly women, by injecting them with lethal doses of heroin. Shipman abused the trust of his patients, often visiting their homes under the guise of providing care. Instead of healing, he delivered death, then falsified medical records to conceal his crimes. In some cases, he even altered wills, ensuring he benefited financially. Why did he do it? Some experts point to the trauma of his mother's death and his obsession with controlling life and death. Others believe it was a classic case of a god complex, an insatiable need to hold absolute power over another person's fate. His downfall came in 1998 when he forged the will of one victim, Kathleen Grundy, leaving her daughter suspicious. The ensuing investigation revealed the shocking scale of his crimes. In 2000, Shipman was convicted of 15 murders and sentenced to life in prison. But justice was short-lived. In 2004, Shipman hanged himself in his cell, taking with him the full truth of his motives. To this day, examples of how evil can hide behind a doctor's smile.
Was Ted Bundy really the charming law student he appeared to be, or one of the most terrifying killers in American history? Born on November 24, 1946, Bundy's childhood was marked by secrets. He grew up believing his grandparents were his parents and his mother was his sister. When he learned the truth, it fueled anger and confusion that shadowed the rest of his life. Outwardly, Bundy looked like the picture of success: college student, law school attendee, even working on political campaigns. Beneath that polished exterior, however, lurked a predator. He crafted a mask of normalcy, using fake injuries or posing as an authority figure to win the trust of unsuspecting women. His intelligence, charm, and good looks became weapons, tools he used to lure victims into deadly traps. From 1974 to 1978, Bundy terrorized multiple states, including Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. Authorities believe he murdered at least 30 young women, though the true number may be far higher. His crimes went beyond murder, involving abduction, sexual assault, and necrophilia. For Bundy, killing was about control, domination, and sadistic fantasies. He often returned to crime scenes to further desecrate the bodies of his victims. Despite several close calls, Bundy evaded capture for years. In 1975, a routine traffic stop in Utah finally linked him to a series of disappearances. He later escaped custody twice before being caught again in Florida in 1978. Convicted of multiple murders, Bundy was sentenced to death and executed in the electric chair on January 24, 1989. Bundy's case remains infamous, not only for the brutality of his crimes, but for the chilling way he hid his monstrous nature behind a mask of charm, intelligence, and normality. Who was the monster of the Andes? Pedro Lopez ranks among history's most notorious serial killers. Born in Colombia in 1948, his childhood was shattered by poverty, abuse, and trauma. After being caught molesting his sister, his mother, a sex worker, kicked him out at just 8 years old. Living on the streets, he suffered repeated sexual assaults, which likely fueled his later crime. As a young man, Lopez was jailed for car theft and allegedly gang-raped in prison. After release, he began killing young girls, often luring them from markets before raping and strangling them. He claimed over 300 victims across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador in the 70s and early 80s. His motives? A twisted hatred of women and a belief he was cleansing future prostitutes. Captured in 1980, he confessed and led authorities to 53 graves. Convicted of 110 murders in Ecuador, he received life, yet walked free in 1994 due to good behavior and legal loopholes. Deported to Colombia, he was released again in 1998. His whereabouts remain unknown, and his case still fuels fear and controversy, highlighting deep flaws in justice systems. What drives someone to spread terror across an entire city? For New Yorkers in the mid-1970s, that fear had a name: David Berkowitz, better known as the Son of Sam. Born June 1, 1953 in Brooklyn, Berkowitz was adopted by a middle-class Jewish family. His early life was shadowed by feelings of abandonment and anger. Learning about his adoption, and later losing his adoptive mother, pushed him further into isolation. By his teens, troubling behaviors surfaced. He set fires and harmed animals, signs of the darkness that would later emerge. Between 1976 and 1977, Berkowitz went on a shooting spree that left 6 dead and 7 wounded. His victims were often young couples in parked cars, targeted with a .44 caliber revolver. The attack seemed random and senseless, creating citywide panic. Adding to the fear, Berkowitz taunted police and media with disturbing letters signed, "Son of Sam." He claimed a demonic force. Speaking through his neighbor's dog, commanded him to kill. The bizarre mix of violence and taunting fueled a media frenzy, and New York lived in fear. Despite one of the largest manhunts in city history, Berkowitz managed to stay hidden until a simple parking ticket near a crime scene led police to him in August 1927. Once arrested, he quickly confessed, insisting a demon named Sam had ordered the murders. Convicted on multiple counts, he received 6 consecutive life sentences. In prison, Berkowitz later claimed a religious transformation, calling himself the Son of Hope instead of the Son of Sam. But despite this shift, he remains behind bars, serving his life sentences with no chance of parole. What drives someone to commit acts so monstrous that the world remembers their name? Decades later, Jeffrey Dahmer, infamously called the Milwaukee Cannibal, was responsible for the murders of 17 young men between 1978 and 1991. Born on May 21, 1960, in West Allis, Wisconsin, Dahmer's early life seemed relatively ordinary. But beneath the surface, he struggled with crushing loneliness, especially after his parents' divorce. As a child, he displayed disturbing behavior, fascination with dead animals, and dissecting them, early hints of the darkness that would follow. Dahmer's crimes shocked the nation for their sheer brutality. Most of his victims were young men, many African American, whom he lured back to his apartment. There, he would drug them, kill them, and sometimes engage in necrophilia. He dismembered bodies, kept body parts as trophies, and even ate human flesh. In one of his most disturbing attempts at control, Dahmer drilled into victims' skulls and injected acid or boiling water, trying to create zombies who would never leave him. What drove him? Psychologists point to his deep need for dominance and complete control, mixed with emotional detachment and an absence of empathy. Outwardly, Dahmer managed to function in society, holding menial jobs. Yet behind closed doors, his alcoholism and loneliness fueled escalating violence. His reign of terror ended in July 1991, when one intended victim escaped and flagged down police. Inside Dahmer's apartment, officers discovered photos of dismembered bodies and human remains, evidence so gruesome it horrified even seasoned detectives. Dahmer confessed in chilling detail. In 1992, he was convicted of 15 murders and sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms. But his time in prison was short-lived. On November 28, 1994, he was beaten to death by another inmate inside Columbia Correctional Institution. Jeffrey Dahmer's story remains one of the darkest chapters in American crime history, a haunting reminder of how evil can hide in plain sight. What makes a killer like Richard Ramirez so terrifying? It's not just the brutality of his crimes, but the chaos and unpredictability that left entire communities living in fear. Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, terrorized Southern California in the mid-1980s. Born on February 29, 1960 in El Paso, Texas, his childhood was filled with violence. He was influenced by a cousin who had served in Vietnam and shared graphic war stories, while also enduring abuse at home. These early experiences fueled his fascination with Satanism and dark rituals. Between 1984 and 1985, Ramirez launched a shocking crime spree. At least 14 people were murdered, and many more were assaulted or injured. His attacks had no clear pattern. Victims ranged from children to the elderly. He broke into homes at night, often sexually assaulting victims before killing them. He left behind satanic symbols and phrases, amplifying the sense of horror. His methods included shootings, stabbings, beatings, and mutilations, making him one of the most sadistic figures in American criminal history. What drove him? Ramirez seemed consumed by evil itself. He reveled in fear, displayed no empathy, and embraced chaos. His crimes weren't just about killing, they were an expression of his darkest, sadistic desires. In August 1985, after a citywide manhunt, Ramirez was finally caught. His fingerprints matched those found at a crime scene, and a surviving victim's description helped identify him. When recognized in East Los Angeles, Civilians chased him down and restrained him until police arrived. In 1989, Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders, 11 sexual assaults, 5 attempted murders, and 14 burglaries. Sentenced to death, he remained on death row until 2013, when he died of cancer complications. If you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. What other cases would you like me to cover next? Thanks for watching. Until next time.